Some stories in the U.S. Armed Forces live in classified reports, sealed testimonies, or the quiet spaces between two soldiers who know better than to speak. But others, they unfold in broad daylight, in front of people who never expected to witness the truth. This is one of those stories. A story about a mother, a son, a base that thought it understood strength, and a moment where justice punched through fear, not with violence, but with truth. Fort Castle Ridge was the kind of installation that seemed built out of concrete, shadows, and secrets. Home to a rapid response Marine battalion, a drone command facility, and several units nobody talked about, it operated under the familiar tension of American military life. Discipline at the surface, politics underneath, and personal pride simmering somewhere in the middle. At 0600, the base woke up with a jolt. Boots hitting gravel, engines waking, the flag rising into a dawn streaked with orange. On most days, nobody noticed civilian vehicles entering the visitor lane. But on this morning, around 0640, a silver Toyota Tacoma rolled quietly through the security checkpoint. Behind the wheel sat a woman with dark hair pulled into a low braid. In the passenger seat sat a teenage boy in a too large sweatshirt. They looked like anyone. They were not. The boy's name was Ethan Hale. 14 years old, sharp-eyed, the kind of quiet kid who carried unspoken stories in his posture. The woman was Chief Petty Officer Alexandra Alex Hale, U.S. Navy, medically retired, officially, honorably discharged, a single mother, someone who had built a quiet life after a career that never made it into recruitment posters. No one at the gate saw the tiny trident-shaped scar near her collarbone. No one saw the faint brands of training, loss, and survival along her hands. Nobody knew they were watching a former Navy SEAL drive onto base. Not yet, Ethan wasn't visiting for fun. His JROTC unit from school had been invited to tour Fort Castle Ridge, a half-day program meant to inspire discipline, interest, and potential enlistment. The kind of thing that made recruiters grin. Alex volunteered to drive him because it was her weekend with him, and because she still felt protective of military spaces. She understood them, respected them, feared a few of them too. Ethan had mixed feelings about the whole event, but he wanted to see real Marines and touch real gear. Mostly, he wanted his mom to relax. She had been tense all week, pacing at night, staring at the framed photographs on their living room wall, a platoon of hard-eyed operators standing on a dusty foreign road. "Mom," he murmured as they parked near the visitor center. "You sure you don't want to go back home? You don't have to walk me in." Alex grinned lightly. "Kiddo, I've walked into places a lot more dangerous than a Marine base with teenagers carrying clipboards." He snorted. "You were a linguist, right?" She chuckled, a soft lie between them. "Something like that." Inside the visitor hall, the JROTC cadets gathered around Staff Sergeant Tolan, a tall Marine with a squared jaw and a tone that made teenagers snap to attention on instinct. Tolan was competent, proud, and already irritated. He didn't like civilians wandering around unless they were family of active personnel. Single moms with teenagers triggered a particular impatience in him. When Alex approached with Ethan, he didn't hide it. "You here for the tour?" he asked sharply. "Yes, Staff Sergeant," Alex replied with polite calm. "You the boy's guardian?" "His mother," she said. He raised an eyebrow. Ethan stiffened. Tolan pointed at the bench. "Parents stay here. Kids go with the group." Alex nodded. "Of course. I'll stay out of the way," but as she turned, Tolan leaned slightly toward another Marine, LCPL Reed, and muttered just loud enough, "Some people bring their whole personal lives onto base. Look at that. Can't even dress properly for a military installation." The Marine next to him laughed. Ethan heard, Alex heard. Neither reacted. But something in Ethan's shoulders tightened. The tour began. Alex stayed in the waiting area, skimming a small book she carried everywhere. Marcus Aurelius's Meditations. It steadied her breathing, gave her hands something to hold besides memories. Nearly an hour later, the cadets circled back toward the visitor hall for a break. That's when the incident began. Ethan approached his mom to grab the lunch bag she packed for him. Turkey sandwich, apple slices, 2 protein bars. Predictable mom stuff. But 3 Marines walked through the hall at the same time. Tolan, Reed, and a newer private named Jacobs. They had just finished a minor disciplinary meeting and were in a mood. Apparently, somebody had informed command about Tolan's earlier comment. and they suspected a civilian mother had complained. Not true, Alex hadn't said a word. But assumptions, they can ignite like gasoline. As Ethan reached for the bag, Tolan stepped between them. "Hey!" he barked. "You do not wander into civilian areas during a restricted tour. Move back with your group, cadet." Ethan froze. I just needed my lunch." Tolan moved forward too quickly, chest puffed out. Reed smirked behind him. "Follow orders." "Now." Alex stood up. "That's enough," she said. "He's not breaking protocol. He just—" Tolan turned on her. "Ma'am, I wasn't addressing you," but Ethan stepped in front of his mother, instinct overriding fear. "Don't talk to her like that. Just a boy. Trying to protect someone 10 times stronger than every Marine in that hallway." Tolan's face twisted. Reed muttered, "Kid's got a mouth." Then it happened. A shove, not hard enough to injure, just enough to humiliate. Tolan pushed Ethan backward, palm to the shoulder. Ethan stumbled, hit the bench, fell to one knee. Alex inhaled sharply. Reed said, "Whoa, watch yourself, cadet," and Private Jacobs added, "Should have learned respect." They did not know they had just laid a hand on the son of a woman who passed Hell Week with stress fractures in both legs, who survived Blackwater drown-proofing on 2 hours of sleep, who lost 2 teammates in a night raid she never spoke about. They did not know what was about to wake up inside her, but they would. Alex stepped between the Marines and her son with absolute stillness. Not aggression, not anger, just gravity. The kind that makes experienced fighters instinctively straighten their posture. "Staff Sergeant," she said quietly, "you will step back from my child." Tolan scoffed. "Don't tell me how to run my Marines." Her voice lowered into something older, colder, trained. "You put your hands on a minor." Reed laughed. "Lady, relax. He's fine." But Jacobs, the quietest of the three, noticed something. Something in her stance, her breathing, her eyes, a predator calm enough to freeze blood. Jacobs swallowed. Maybe we should—" Tolan ignored him. "Civilians don't get to—" Alex pulled out a card, a simple, faded, laminated ID. Not current military, but not forgotten. It bore the insignia of Naval Special Warfare. "Tolan," Reed whispered. "That's a SEAL operator tag." "No," Jacobs said, going pale. "That's SEAL Team 8. And that clearance color, she wasn't support. She was—" Alex didn't raise her voice. "You shoved my son. You disrespected a civilian visitor, and you lied about protocol. Now you will take 3 steps back and call your commanding officer." Tolan opened his mouth. She took a single step forward, a trained operator's step, a weight shift that told every instinct in Tolan's body to shut up immediately. He stepped back. Not 3 steps. 6. Reed put his hands behind his back automatically, posture snapping straight. Jacobs whispered, "Holy hell!" Ethan stood slowly, looking at his mother as if seeing her for the first time. "Mom, you were a—" But she didn't answer. Not yet. Within minutes, the hallway filled with higher-ranking officers, Master Sergeant Ruiz, Captain Dawson, and Lieutenant Colonel Hartman, who oversaw visitor programs. Colonel Hartman was an old Marine, gruff but fair, the kind of officer who hated unnecessary drama more than enemy fire. "What?" Hartman said sharply. "Is going on in my visitor hall?" Tolan snapped to attention. "Sir, this civilian interfered with Staff Sergeant." Hartman cut him off. "I will stop you there." He turned to Alex, noticing the card in her hand. "Ma'am, is that what I think it is?" Alex nodded once. Hartman exhaled slowly. A man who had known SEALs in Fallujah, who carried memories that matched hers. "Staff Sergeant Tolan," he said calmly, "you assaulted a minor, a visitor, on my base. It was just a shove. There is no such thing as just when it involves a civilian and a Marine NCO." Hartman's voice sharpened. "You're confined to quarters pending investigation," Reed swallowed. "Sir, you too." Jacobs stepped forward quickly. "Sir, I told them—" "I know, Jacobs. You did the right thing by calling it in." Tolan turned red. Reed turned white. Alex kept her hands behind her back, posture unmoved. Hartman faced her with respect. "Chief, I apologize on behalf of Castle Ridge. This behavior is unacceptable." She nodded. "Thank you, sir." Hartman hesitated. "Chief Hale, you were with Team 8, correct?" "Yes, sir." Ruiz muttered under his breath. "Holy, and you're here today as a parent?" Yes, sir. Hartman looked at Ethan. Son, you okay? Ethan nodded weakly. Yes, sir, just surprised. Hartman softened. Understandable. Then he turned to Alex. Chief, would you like to file a report or handle this quietly? Alex considered. Her breathing slowed. Her gaze drifted to her son. Neither, she finally said. I just want an apology. To my boy. No Marine liked apologizing, especially not to a teenager, but the truth had weight, and Tolan felt every ounce of it pressing down on him. With officers watching, he stepped forward. Cadet, he said through clenched teeth, I apologize for putting my hands on you. It was improper conduct. Alex's expression didn't change. Reed followed. Sorry, kid, I shouldn't have laughed. Jacobs added, I'm really sorry about all this. I tried. Alex stopped him gently. I know you did. Thank you. Colonel Hartman nodded. Dismissed. All of you except the chief. The Marines left. Tolan and Reed facing disciplinary suspension. Jacobs quietly shaken, but relieved. Ethan sat beside his mother. Mom, he whispered. You were a Navy SEAL? She finally looked at him. Really looked, with Team 8. A long time ago. Why didn't you ever tell me? Her eyes softened, the hardest part of her armor melting. Because I wanted you to grow up without my shadows. Not every battle needs to be passed down. He swallowed. I would have been proud. She smiled faintly. I know. Colonel Hartman insisted on giving them a private tour, not as visitors, but as honored guests. They walked through the drone command center, the Marine training yards, the motor pool. Alex didn't show off, didn't correct anyone, didn't reveal classified stories or flash old scars for sympathy. But Marines watched her differently now. They recognized something in her that didn't need uniform or insignia. An operator's silent confidence. Ethan kept close to her side, seeing her not as a mysterious single mom, but as someone carved out of courage and sacrifice. At the end of the tour, as they approached the Tacoma, Hartman spoke quietly. Chief Hale, we could use someone like you in training capacities, even part-time. Alex shook her head. Those days are done, sir. He nodded respectfully. Then at least, let me say this. Your son handled himself with honor today. Not many kids would defend their mom against Marines. Alex looked at Ethan with pride. He's stronger than he realizes. Hartman smiled. Runs in the family. The sun dipped low as they left the base. Orange light pouring across the windshield. For the first 10 minutes, neither spoke. Then Ethan broke the silence. Mom? Yeah? When he pushed me, I wasn't scared. I was angry. But when you stepped in, I felt safe. Like the whole room changed. Alex exhaled slowly. Ethan, you never deserved to be touched. Not by anyone. Ever. And if something like that happens again, you speak up. You protect yourself. You don't let anyone make you small. He looked down. You make it look easy. It's not, she whispered. Strength isn't about winning fights. It's about knowing when not to start one. He nodded. You think I could be like you? She smiled softly. You already are. Later that night, as they sat at the kitchen table with hot chocolate, Ethan asked, Mom, do you miss it? The teams? She stared at the steam curling from her mug. I miss the purpose, she said quietly. And the people. But not the pain. And not what it took from me. He didn't ask what she meant. Some wounds live behind the ribs, unspoken. Mom, he said finally, I'm proud of you, not because you were a SEAL, but because you stopped them without, hurting anybody. Alex laughed, a rare, warm sound. That's the part nobody trains you for. He leaned his head against her shoulder. I'm glad you're my mom. She kissed the top of his hair. I'm glad you're my reason. Colonel Hartman did file a report, quietly, accurately, enough to correct the culture on base without ruining careers, except the ones that needed correcting. Word spread carefully, but steadily. Not about the incident, about the reminder. That strength doesn't always wear camouflage. That respect is not optional. That every person on a military installation, soldier or civilian, deserves dignity. And that sometimes, the most dangerous warrior in the room is someone nobody sees coming. True strength is not measured by rank, muscle, or intimidation, but by the courage to protect, to respect, and to stand between others and harm. Power means nothing without character, and the bravest warriors are often the ones who fight only when they must.